Right, hello everybody. Lucas and I are currently doing some recordings at the 2024 Charter Club Nationals in Manurewa, and we are today joined by Vince Tate. Hello Vince, thanks for joining us.
Thanks guys, looking forward to it.
Yeah, cool. Hoping to get to know a bit more about you and where it all started for you and what you're doing within the sport, because you are quite active, and wanted to talk, especially after your recent, well, I don't know, would you call it success, getting to the final and falling off a bit there? Well, not falling off. You guys didn't really get a whole lot of chances to answer.
Not really. Thoroughly enjoyed it, Dave. It was great.
Yeah, well, you guys were playing solid all day. Every time I looked over, you guys were doing some real damage. Yeah. So you guys got to, so you and Sal?
Me and Sal, yep.
Yeah, got to the final of the main event in the pairs.
Yes.
And beaten by Adam Lilly and Brett DeFaria.
Brett DeFaria and Adam Lilly, yeah.
We commentated on that match, and it was a cracker. It was really good. It had its highlights, it had its lowlights, but I think you guys played solid. Sal, wow, he's solid, isn't he?
Never seen him play before. He's just a talented guy. Like I said to him, it's my second time ever playing with him. Mm-hmm. So I played with Sal in the the Masters in Tauranga?
Oh yes.
My first time pairing with him, and we made the finals again, and we just come up short.
Bridesmaids again.
Yeah, exactly. But it was great. It was to play with someone like that. For me, it's a privilege for me too, because I've always played with my mate Sani Roberts. Him and I have always been New Zealand snooker peers.
Yep.
We've won those titles many times.
Wow.
So to play with someone different was always good, because there's so many talented players out there today.
Well, he's got a different style to you.
Very different style.
But man, he can pull it off, can't he?
That guy doesn't fear anyone. You give him a sniff, and he's just in there. He's like a raging bull, ready to be released, and that's what we want to see in our games, right? We want to see those sort of games. He's probably an older version of Adam Lilly. Adam Lilly just doesn't fear anything, which is great. It's what we need.
What club were you guys representing in the pairs?
Otahu. So we're both a member of Otahu.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool, very good. And he's continuing in the singles as well?
He's here today, he's playing.
Oh, he's playing at the moment, yep.
Yeah, so he's doing well, obviously, and so he's got one more game to go, he told me, so he hasn't lost any yet. So.
Yep, and you've played your singles match?
I played yesterday,
yep.
Yes.
And you've through, aren't you? Yep.
Qualified, yep.
Cool.
Qualified, yep.
Very good.
You also have, I think it's CEO coming out of that club as well. He usually comes down to our club in Waikato, Commerce Club, and that whole club, I think, is just a killer's row, really. I've just noticed that whole, that OTU in the little book.
OTC,
And the little book, it's just so crazy to see them just absolutely kill everyone.
Correct. Yeah, there's quite a few of them in that club, and that they got the likes of Philly. Philly's, he's been there, done that as well, and you got Sal and then Seo and all those guys coming out of that club. There's so many talented players. So I think give them another year or two, we'll probably start seeing some great players come out of there, winning some titles. It'd be good.
Very good. So what is it? So you've been quite affluent, you might say, within the snooker scene in the past?
Yeah.
Where did that all start for you?
So it started for me as a young 3-year-old.
Oh wow.
Play
right to the start.
As we all did.
Yeah. As a young 3-year-old, my granddad had a snooker table in our club rooms, our family club rooms, so he brought me up on that. I played basically since I was 3 years old, right up to the age of 14. I wanted to go pro. I was making centuries when I was 8 years old.
Wow.
I've still got like a little video cassette, a very old cassette back in the day that I have, and it's me. I make 3 centuries in a row left-handed. I'm left-handed, by the way.
Okay.
So we'll get to that. But at the age of 14, and then my dad decided to pull me away from Q Sports and put me on the drum kit as a drummer for his band. Because my dad, growing up back in their days, they had things called billiard saloons. Right. Which is a little bit different to what we have now, like Cosy clubs and RSAs. And in those days, from what Dad told me, there was a lot of, the alcohol, drug, gang related, and that's how they got mixed up in these things. So Dad, seeing me growing into that sport, he pulled me away from that because he didn't want me to get involved in the drug scene and stuff. So he chucked me on a drum kit.
Right.
And so here I am, a 14-year-old on a drum kit, didn't know how to play drums.
Left-handed drummer?
Left-handed drummer. But I learned to play drums, and then toured with my dad And then age 16, put me on a music course.
So your dad was in the music side of things as well?
Dad was, born and bred into the music. Yeah, my whole family, all his brothers and that, toured around America as musicians.
Any bands worth mentioning that we might know?
Oh, look, I can't remember some of the bands the uncles and they've all played in, but the only band my dad was in that was sort of known in that some of the older guys here was the Multi Volcanics.
Oh, yeah.
And they were like a show group, They went to Las Vegas and did shows over there. So Dad was involved with them for about 12 years. But yeah, then getting back to me, being 16, met my wife, and then we been doing music for 34 years.
Wow.
And that's pretty much what I've been doing all my life. So Q Sports then took a backseat for quite a long time. Mm-hmm. I would always go to the club and play the old chicken nights, meat pack nights, and that's the best I could do because every weekend we were always gigging Friday, Saturdays, so I could never play any
weekend tournaments,
and no one really saw me, or that was the reason why, because I was always gigging. Then I got right into golf, which was quite serious. I took up golf. I was off a 1 handicap, played at high level. Enjoyed that.
Left-handed there too?
Right-handed.
Right-handed, right. I figured there was a right-handed element coming to your story since you mentioned the left-handed thing.
Yep. Okay. Did that for quite a while, and then 2006, 2007. So when I lost my dad in 2006, and then I got asked to join my dad's show group, which was the Multi Volcanics, but I was going to be inducted into that in 2007 down in Wellington at the museum. Okay. So come 2007, on my way down there, I have a massive car accident, me and my wife, which basically I have now 3 pins in my lower spine, and I was told I was never going to walk again, really. Wow. So to be able to prove them wrong that I could walk, but I could no longer play left-hand snooker again.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So your back wouldn't let you go that side?
No, I still can't do it today.
Okay.
Because of the shape the pins are at. Just makes me feel uncomfortable.
Right. I tell you, looking at your stance, would never know it.
Well, that's right hand now.
Yeah. So, but you would never know you got any back issues at all.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, I do have major back issues. I just try not to show it at tournaments, but we'll get to that. So then, cut a long story short, 2009, after the accident, I started to get back out into the workforce, walking around again, but no longer could play left hand. So I spoke to my brother, who's a bit of a guru, like the old MacGyver, we call him. Mm-hmm. He'll make up anything. He made up a straight aim for me, and that's how it all started. He made up my very first straight aim.
I had a feeling that it was going to come out.
And that's how it all came, which was a basic tube that he made for me. We chucked it on my cue, and I, driving trucks back then with my mum's business, I would sit on the truck and on the dashboard and try and practice getting my right hand, and that's how it all sort of started.
Yeah.
And then 2010, 2011, I came out onto the scene, and I started winning comps, started winning tournaments playing right hand.
Wow.
And that's how it all sort of started from there, as far as me converting from left to right.
Do you think that's, in a sense, beneficial to have come from left-handed and then retrain your body to go right-handed? Because I've heard a few theories on this, and I'll touch on that in a minute, but do you think it was beneficial? Obviously it was forced on you, but do you think there's some validity in...
I think it definitely does have its merits. I mean, people say, left-handers, they use this side of the brain and all the rest of it.
That's kind of where I was going with that,
Yeah, so I think for me, I am one of those thinkers, I wasn't very good in school as far as, if someone gave me a what do you call it? Like to put something together and they gave you a little sheet to follow. Mm-hmm. I was never good like that, I was always hands-on. You show me once, I'll do it. I'll replicate it pretty much instantly.
Yep.
So, but I think it has its merits, converting from left to right. I know a lot of people who've done that in the music scenes, drummers, lefties, and play right, now they can play both hands. Yeah. Just like me, I can play both ways.
Isn't it funny how...
It's crazy.
We're quite symmetrical. If you drew a line down the centre of our body, where everything's pretty much the same, one side to the other, but the brain doesn't think so.
No, that's right. It's totally different.
Yeah, there's something. I've tried to play left-handed, and it's
very tough,
dangerous for the cloth. I tell you now, it's that bad. It really is that bad. And I'm not saying I'm that good right-handed, but left-handed, my goodness.
Well, we've got to start somewhere. I mean, you're exactly right, because when I tried to go to right hand, I found it quite difficult.
Oh, I bet.
But having that training tool, it and I'll be sore every night because it's just training muscles that I've never used being right-handed. But the more I used the training aid, the more it just started to feel a little bit more natural.
Yeah.
But I had the knowledge of how to strike a ball, how to hit a ball, but I just needed to get the
Teach
right
your
arm
body to do it.
to be able to sink in.
Yep.
And over a long period of time, using it every day, I used it literally every single day. It just got a lot easier, to the point now for me, it just seems so natural to play that way.
So how long has straight aim been around?
Okay, so launched in 2019.
Right.
That's when it actually took place. But, I registered the name then.
Mm-hmm.
And then in March 2020 is when I physically actually started sending product, across the ditch,
Yep.
Got a few coaches on board. PJ Nolan was one of them. He received this product. I sent a few out to the coaches, and he received it, and he rang me literally the very next day, and he wanted to endorse the product, which was good for me because he's quite a big name in the snooker field, PJ Nolan. And then through the journeys, a few others have jumped on board since then. So we have about 8 or 10 coaches worldwide that have come on board, and they use the product, and they just believe in the product. But there's obviously more to the game than just what the products can do.
Yep.
I've always said my product will never make you clear tables or that. There's still the hard work's got to get involved. But what they do, they just help with the fundamentals, which is cue action. When people see my cue action, they go, you got amazing cue action. Well, that's how it all started for me. And
create some consistency.
It does,
too,
and that's
doesn't
all
it?
you want. You just want the consistency, and that's what it's all about, really, for me.
I think it's super important to be able to hit kind of exactly where you want on the cue ball to the object ball.
Correct.
If you don't have that kind of in place, you're going to struggle around the table.
Guilty.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, I've actually had a brief encounter with a straight aim tool, and all it did was highlight how bad my cueing was. So I put it down immediately. It wasn't my cue that it was attached to, and I felt like I was going to do some damage. So
I think that's the key, and obviously with you got a bit of a beard there to find it hard to get sitting on the road. Maybe you probably never had a bigger beard.
Yeah, I actually this creates a bit of it's a bit of a gliding tool for my cue, a bit of a dry lubricant, you might say.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's quite good, but probably get caught up in the
rail system. Yeah. No, well, you're right though. I mean, like I've always said it. It's when players actually use it within the first 2 to 3 seconds, they will feel things that you would never feel or see when you're actually just playing without it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first thing that it highlighted to me, is that it picked up how poor my right hand was, obviously because I've never played right hand.
Mm-hmm.
So of course, I was going to outline all those things, but the goal was, like the brother and I, we spoke about, the goal is to try and make it slide and glide as smooth as possible without any wobbling, basically.
Right.
So the more I'd used it, the more it just becomes solid,
So correct me if I'm wrong, but have there been a couple of variations?
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So what are we at? Version 2 or 3 at the moment?
We're at the version 5. So that's why it's called G5. It's the fifth generation, basically.
Cool.
That's why I've called it the G5. So we've had changes along the way.
Mm-hmm.
I think the very first one was really heavy and smaller, because I never believed back then that you needed to have a real big long stroke. For me, it was keeping it small and consistent, just like a dart player would. You never see them going like this. So I always believed that the smaller you could have it, like putting, like everything else, the smaller, the more consistent.
Right.
As Tiger Woods and them say, the smaller the take back and the putt, the more consistent, the bigger the putt, the more chance of pushing and throwing. And that was my belief.
Yeah, I suppose it doesn't quite relate to cue sports, does it? Because that backstroke determines your power.
Well, it does, because that's what I mean. People think that they need to have a bigger stroke to stroke the ball through the table, and not really. It comes down to the way you hold the cue, the trajectory of the cue, because when you're actually when people think top ball, they elevate the cue like that and they're stabbing down on the ball, which actually gets no run.
No, yeah,
now
it a bit.
When we talk about follow, like say top spin on a golf ball putting through, the pros hit on an upward motion and the ball rolls further. So the same system with the cue, if you drop the back of your cue and you're hitting up on the cue, makes the ball travel further.
Okay.
And I've demonstrated that multiple times. And I hit probably half the power of many others, but make the ball move 3 times as distance. You see,
just with the change in the angle.
Just with the change in the angle,
Okay.
and it's huge, and it's what I demonstrate and teach my students and other players when they come around.
Yeah, so you actually do a bit of coaching as well, is that right?
I do that full time now, since Straight Aim, and probably within the last year it's been more serious now. But I get more support overseas than I actually do get here in New Zealand because maybe because of that reason. You know, the players here, they've sort of know me and they don't really know the background of me, but it isn't until now Straight Aim's getting out there and they're starting to see me. I'm teaching at Papakura High School with we have 148 kids that I coach every Wednesday, but unfortunately I can't take the whole 148 because we're only limited to 6 pool tables at the Papakura Club. So what we do is
nationals.
Yeah, we need something like this, exactly. So we've grown. It's been 2 years in the school. When we first started there, we only had 10 kids.
Right.
Carlos is one of the students who I've been coaching, as well as he comes along and helps us out with the kids because it's just my wife. It's always just been the wife and I, but now Carlos is on board.
Cool.
And he sees the progress that we've done with all the kids, and I've cut it off at 60 kids. You know, so we get 30 kids in the morning, 30 kids in the afternoon, basically. But
it's good to know that there's interest, though. That's very reassuring for the future of the sport. That's really good.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the goal, eh? You know, I mean, we out of those kids, out of the 60, I see about probably a dozen there with huge potential.
Cool.
But again, it's the potential, but they don't really have that bite, that fire, you know. And out of that 12, I'd say there'd be 5 or 6 that really want to pursue it.
Progress in it, yeah. Good. Okay. So you still playing snooker at the moment?
I am playing as much as I can.
Yep.
Now, I don't practice anymore. The practicing, because I'm a full-time music, I do that for a living. I'm in the studio at home pretty much every single day. We're working on albums, not only for my wife and I, but for others as well. So I do that quite full on.
Wow.
And then coaching on top of that, and then school coaching, and then my own kids and everything else. It's pretty hard to even find time to train. And so it's very hard to find time, you know.
Right.
But the little time I get, might get about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and that's it, you know.
Wow. Busy man.
Very busy.
Busy man. Well, appreciate your time coming in here and having a chat with us.
Thank you.
So consider yourself fairly involved in the 8-ball side of things currently?
Yeah, not as much. I'd like to be. Like, this is my first or second nationals for me.
Where was your first?
Here, Manajua.
So that was back. 2018, I believe?
Yeah, it would have been a while ago.
Yep.
I don't really get to play many because of the band, you know.
Yep.
Like for example, this weekend, if I was playing Saturday with my band, I wouldn't be in the singles.
Right.
So, but it's good. I'm glad I'm here.
Yeah, very good.
Meeting different people and being around different players, and it's good.
I see you got a coaching clinic coming up over, is it Tauranga Sits?
Yep, Tauranga Sits, November 16. Tokoroa's looking at doing one as well. I do quite a few at Meta RSA.
Okay.
There's a few clubs. There's booking sessions in now, so it's getting quite heavily booked. But I've also got a lot of individuals who've come up to book sessions with me on Sunday this week, which is good.
Okay.
So,
and if someone was listening to this and wanting to book something like that, where would they go? Straightaim.co.nz, is it?
It's straightaim.net, or they contact me on my Facebook page, Vincent Tate. Or if they know other players who know me, they can get through them. But yeah, I'm out there. I'm all over Facebook. And stuff.
Not hard to find.
Not hard to find.
That's good.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And quite successful, you'd say, the Straight Aim stuff has been so far?
It's been very good.
I've heard some really good feedback.
Amazing stuff. 58 countries worldwide now.
Oh, wow.
My product's out there. It's growing. For me, I'm enjoying it. I have over 50 students worldwide that I coach. I do Zoom meets as well, and a lot of them are guys who have my product, and a lot of them who don't have the product at all, but they want to learn more about the game. I suppose when people come coaching with me or get a lesson, I'm basically going against the grain of teaching, and that's purely the way I've had to transform my game from left to right. I've made potting systems, where I have kids who have never played the sport within 6 to 8 weeks potting balls, versus kids that have been playing for 3 years still struggling to pot balls. Right. And it's just due down to my systems I've created. You know?
So it's quite specialised and different from anything else by the sounds of it.
Very different, very different. And I have...
A lot of it hinges around the straight aim tool itself?
Not just that. I have many training aids that help people develop.
Right.
And, I'm coaching even pretty good players that are here in New Zealand. They come to me and they've been blown away, you know, from what they've been doing for the last 20, 30 years to what I've done with them in a week. It's just been amazing. They've just been blown away with, you know, the knowledge that I have and the training tools I have. So I have so many different training tools that help people. And you don't need a pool table, by the way. That's the key with my training tools. They've been created for people who just have a kitchen bench. Right. You know, I firmly believe the more you go to a table and try and hit boards, you're not fixing any of the actual solutions that could be within so the more we play, the more you're just ingraining the bad habits.
Yeah, trying to fine tune what shouldn't be getting tuned in the first place. Yeah.
Back in the day when I was playing golf, one thing our top coaches told us is that the more you hit a golf ball, the more we keep doing the bad habits. It's recognizing the problem and learning how to fix the problem. Yeah. And that's what I teach. So I'd find the fault and teach you how to fix that fault, and there you go away and fix the habit. Because the thing is, even with me, whether it's me or Ronnie O'Sullivan or any top professional coach in the world, we only get 1 hour with you.
Right.
Now, within that hour, I'm never going to make you clear tables. I'm never going to make you make central breaks, but it's what you take away from that training is the key. And this is what I teach people. It's like they think, because they come to me or any other coach, and if they don't achieve the next day, they'll go find someone else or they'll go to YouTube. And what they're actually doing is basically giving mixed messages to the brain. You're not achieving anything like that. You know, it's like, because I teach music as well. I teach 7 different instruments. You know, so the same thing. You got to be very careful.
There's a massive difference between, let's say, a good player and a good coach.
Correct.
Right? And just because you're a good player
Correct.
doesn't mean you're a good coach.
Exactly.
And this is something without trying to say I'm a good player, but I've had people ask me for pointers in coaching, and that I can't teach. I'm not trained to teach. You have to have a different mindset when you're trying to pass knowledge on. Correct. I can show you what I do, but I'll tell you now, you shouldn't. Yeah. You shouldn't do it the way I do it. I know it's not formulated well. It kind of works for me from time to time, but I certainly wouldn't want to pass that on to someone else because I know it's steering them down the wrong path. Being able to teach is a completely different skill to being able to do what it is you want to teach.
Correct. And to be able to teach it, for me, I can play any shot and every shot there is possible on a snooker table, maximum side, you name it, I can play every shot. But the thing is to be able to understand it and teach people how and why it works this way is key. Now, I've been to coaches myself, and they can't tell me why. They'll just say, hit it there, go to the left and hit the ball, and basically put your hands together and pray that it goes in. You know, where me, I'm not that person. No, I'll break everything down and I demonstrate it why. I'll even show you how to play the shot. Like I was doing yesterday, I was demonstrating shots out there on the table, and it blew everyone away. Daniel Cole, Riley James, and them were all there watching. They were like, wow, and they're just amazed on. But I make it look easy. And because there are systems, you know, the beauty about having a system, when you're in a tournament, and if ever, you know how sometimes you feel like you're playing bad, but you don't know how to get out of that rut because you don't have a system.
Every tournament,
yeah, so you don't know how to get it. But what I find with me is that if I'm playing bad, I have a system that I can revert back to, and it just brings me back. That's why I suppose in the snooker, a lot of the players, if you speak to them, I'm probably one of the most lethal players in the game, purely because I might play bad here and there, but then all of a sudden I've just clicked, and then I
bring it
70,
back.
80 break out of nowhere, and they're like, what? And that's because I just keep reverting back to a system.
Yep.
If we have a system like, you know, you can't go wrong, you know. Not to say you're always going to play brilliant, but at least you've got something that you can revert back to.
You've got a baseline.
You've got a baseline.
Yeah.
Something you can work with. And pick,
and a good baseline at that. Yeah.
Correct. So those are my systems.
I got, I mentioned to someone, where I was having a hit one day, I won't mention his name, but a very well-respected player. And I said to him, sometimes I just don't feel right. And I don't know what it is I'm doing differently. Other times I get down on the cue and it feels perfect, and I know that it's going to be a good day. Other times I feel I'm doing something wrong. I'd love to know what it is I'm doing wrong, because I'm adjusting here, there and everywhere, and I don't know what to focus on. Never had any coaching. And he talked about the system, not a coaching system, just a theory, and I'd never heard of it. The 3-point system, 3 points of contact, and your arms coming through and touching your side, and rah rah rah. I've never heard of it, and all of a sudden, I went through a good 2 or 3 weeks there where I was actually getting some consistency out of my cueing for once. And I don't get 2 or 3 weeks for consistency generally, but just that one little mention, and he ran me through it over a 2-minute conversation. Yeah. Oh my goodness, it made the world of difference. Yeah. I get a bit lax and lazy on it now, but it's having something to pull yourself back to. You need to know where that is. It is quite crucial. So where to from here? What are your plans going forward?
Oh look, so we've got something coming up maybe next year. There's talk of overseas in Abu Dhabi. They want me to come over there and do a demo because I've got one of our top players, Mohammed Shihab. He's hit 12 147s internationally on the circuit. He works with my straight aim stuff. He does it half an hour every day. That's part of his trip. He sends me videos of him training with the tools. Yeah. It just gets him in the right headspace. He knows his cue action straight. And these guys are pros. I mean, if you can get pros doing it, why isn't everyone else doing it? And I don't mean they have to buy the product, but I mean, like, if I really wanted to be good at this game, like I was with golf, I put a lot of money into that. I spent hours coaching. I spent hours buying training aids because you need it, And players I see today who've been playing 20 years are still at the same level they were 20 years ago. Yep. Why? Why even bother to play if you're not going to put the time in? Yep. There's so much more to it, though.
I think there's a lot of merit in knowing what you're doing wrong. It sounds harsh, but if you don't know what you're doing wrong, you don't know what to correct.
Correct.
And you continue doing it wrong. You might be able to hone it in a little bit, but there are fundamentals within this sport, right? There's a few anomalies. There's a few people that don't cue traditionally or don't stand traditionally, and they've worked it out for themselves, and they're very good and well-accomplished players. But that doesn't apply to everybody.
No, that's right. That's right. As Ronnie said, he's probably one of the most. He feels natural swing. Whether in our eyes it looks perfect. I mean, you're questioning the number one player in the world, really. But again, even he says he has a lot of flaws. He likes to work on things. He has coached behind the scenes. I always revert back to people like Tiger Woods. He has 3 different coaches for 3 parts of his game. And obviously the mental side of it. But Paul is like a gym workout. 20% on the table and 80% of it's mental. Hence the reasons you get the likes of these Adam Lillys, the Simons, the Badens. They do so well because they're mentally strong. Yeah. As well as they have a great fundamentals, techniques, because that's key. I mean, I'm the same. I'm mentally strong. Nothing fears me. It's just due to the accident so many years ago now. The shoulders, the tennis elbows, so much problems going on. I don't feel I can perform how I used to. But as far as fear of a player, I don't have that. Yep. What I wake up, what fears me the most is what's my body going to be feeling today.
And is that something you focus on throughout your coaching and training? Is the mental aspect of the sport as well?
I do a lot of that. Yep. Yes, we do a lot of that because that's key. I know I've done it with different sports. Same with musicians. Music. It takes a lot to be good a musician. And stuff like that. So yeah, definitely so.
Yeah, very good.
So there's a lot. There's so much of the game as people know. Yes.
Yeah, it's a different psychology to any other sport psychology, isn't it? Like you couldn't get a boxing coach that specialises in the psychology of a boxing match to come in and really give you tips. Like it's such a specialised sport.
Yeah.
A rugby psychologist ain't gonna hold much hope in turning anyone around. And we do get into our own heads. It's us that
correct.
we can be our biggest enemy, right? Those 2 voices having that internal chat while you're sitting at the table going, hurry up and make up your mind.
Yeah, well, you've got the subconscious and the conscious mind, and it's clashing. And I think a lot of it comes by, like for me, when I used to train back in the day, like getting back to my grandfather, because back in the day they used to have the big snooker tables and the big, remember the 250 watt light bulbs?
Yeah.
He had 6 of those on the table. And Granddad was that guy that didn't like people mucking around the table wasting power. So his thing was, to me, he says, grandson, if you're going to play the sport, you have to practice properly. So what he would do is give me 2 balls, give me the cue ball and an object ball and the old plastic coins back in the day.
Yep.
And wherever that went on the pool table, he'd make me flick it on the table. I had to learn how to pot the ball and get the white ball to the coin. That was my thing I had to learn at a very young age. And by the time I turned 8, no matter where he touched on the table, I could put that white ball almost pinpoint it. But that's because the training I had. So when I teach the likes of, the young ones coming through, that's what I do. I teach them the same thing. I give them that same training system.
Cool. All right. Well, any predictions for the singles title?
I'd like to say I'd like to be up there, but who knows? I mean, this one.
If you're a betting man, where's your money?
I'd have to say for me, definitely Adam Lilly in the final.
Yep.
The other one that's playing well out there, it could be Brett Wells.
Yeah, he's playing solid.
It could be Brett Wells. Maybe
not going to choose yourself.
I'd like to say, yeah, could do.
Split the bet.
Yeah, okay. Well, I could put myself up there.
I think this is probably a more accurate chat to be having once the section play stuff is done and we can see the draw and make some predictions from that. So really, we're plucking names out of the thin air at the moment because the section play is not complete, right?
Yes.
Had we had this chat before the pairs started, we probably would have made some pretty incorrect assumptions because there were quite a few people that you would have expected to be in the main that were not.
Correct.
So it is a bit early doors to be trying to predict that right now, but there are some shining lights, I think, already.
Yeah, I think. I mean, pairs, as we all know, pairs is very, very different because even me, I don't really feel like I play my natural game when I'm playing with someone because you're not fear of the opponents, you're fear of making
letting your partner down
and letting them down. Then walking back to the table and seeing him shaking his head or turning the other way tells you you've done something wrong.
And then next shot you're on the receiving end of that. Yeah,
exactly.
It's
very, very tough.
Different dynamic completely.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the proposal of changing the pairs format to Scotch pairs in the future? That's apparently been mentioned for a remit at the AGM tomorrow morning.
Okay. Some change is good. We need that, and I run straight aim tournaments, which are snooker tournaments, which are different to what we play here in New Zealand. My tournaments are run differently, and people are loving it. We're trying to get it where we're trying to bring a lot of the pool players over because we want them to be quicker, more fun, not dressed up as with the full attire.
Yeah, I see that snooker has dropped the strict standard on the dress code a little bit as well. Yeah, I think that's going to make it a bit easier for a lot of pool players to get involved with the snooker. That's the main reason, as a grossly overweight man, that I don't get involved in the snooker because the waistcoat, the long sleeve shirt, it's not my thing.
And everyone's sweating and it's just
being tucked in even, that's just too much for me to handle. So the fact they've relaxed that a little bit makes it a little bit more attractive to me. Not that I've taken that step yet, but one day.
I think the Opens and the Nationals, it's always good to have their full attire, but every other event should be just pretty much because 8-ballers, they dress nicely anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's good enough, to be honest. And they are sort of lowering the, not as harsh anymore, which is good because we do want to attract the players.
So if the call was made to make the pairs event moving forward Scotch pairs, that wouldn't deter you from playing pairs?
No, look, I love it. Positional play is now you really have to be a lot more accurate with positional play because you want your partner to have a shot.
Yeah, I think it makes people sharpen up.
It does.
Because it immediately affects your partner, not after your visit.
I think the real key is, would we get the amount of players we're getting now versus Scotch pairs because the players may think, well, they don't really have a chance.
I think
not everyone. Maybe it might do. We don't
might be a bit of an old school mentality too that they don't know how it works or they don't want to learn how it works. That's usually quite a common sort of attitude within the sport, especially in the charter club scene. There are a lot of older generation players, and they never usually too fond of change.
That's right. We saw that with snooker when we made the 10 rules. There were some don't want to play, but we had one just last Saturday. We had 35 players. It's the first straight aim 10 race tournament we've had 35 players, and it's going to keep growing. Then we're going to look at diving into the 8-ball and just run more events, straight and ways.
I'm a huge advocate for more pool, right? Regardless of who, why, or where or when.
Yeah.
If there's something that's been done in addition to what we already have, fantastic.
Yeah.
There's too much of this competition mentality where people are, oh, you're doing something similar to me, though we are similar, and in this small pond, you are by default my enemy. I think that needs to be squashed a little bit, and a little bit more cohesion between everyone involved within this pretty limited numbered sport, right, when it comes to participants. And people start working a little bit more together as opposed to against each other to let the sport grow and let the players prosper from it.
I think, guaranteed. There's too many, you say, they don't want to give away their secrets and that, but there's no secret. I think you're right. If we can all work together, pull together.
I think there's a little bit more, there's a better camaraderie between players nowadays than what I used to experience 20 odd years ago when I was involved. And there was a lot of that closely guarded secret. Oh, I've learned how to do this, but I'm not teaching you how to do that, because then you're going to beat me with my skills that I've taught you. That seems to be a little bit less of an issue now. I think there's a bit more emphasis put on people coming together and sharing what they've learned and passing on that knowledge, regardless of ages. There are a lot more juniors coming through these days compared to 20 years ago. Juniors just wasn't a thing 20 years ago.
No.
There were younger players, most of them coming out of Tokoroa, but there was no junior membership set up like there is quite commonly throughout all the clubs now. There was no junior nationals, there was no training, there was nothing. They either had to get was passed on from their mum and dad or their mum and dad's friends at the club and reliant on that. So it's good to see some structure happening and some results being happening as well as a result of that.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I played Edison yesterday, and it's the first time in my life I've ever felt nervous. It's like because it's great to see, and it's what I love. I want to see more of these juniors coming through and getting the support they need, because without them, our sport,
they're the future, right?
We need them. They're our future.
That's right. It's a pyramid scheme.
Pretty
if
much.
You're not feeding the bottom,
exactly.
The top doesn't prosper either.
Exactly.
So the focus should be on them. I see. So the Waikanai Charter Club, they have been doing some really amazing things in the recent years. That was my original club that I played for, and my first national, I was the only one going to represent that club at my first national. And now they're taking out the team's trophy here at this nationals. They've got a junior program. They're getting 20-something kids coming along to their coaching sessions.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's good to see people understand the merit in it.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic.
Yeah, and so I'm guessing you've done, you do the school stuff, so working with the youth is pretty standard, and trying to get the junior side of things up and running as well.
I think what made my program appealing to the school is that I've attached a well-being system to the coaching system. And because our junior kids, today, it's a different type of generation, our kids. So our well-being program runs, hand in hand, and it's been amazing. And that's the school love it, because that's what they're about too. But look, the goal is to see our kids up here in Auckland or South Auckland eventually challenge other schools. Be great to see that happen. So that's the long-term goal for our kids.
Yep.
So hopefully, if someone's listening out there, let's try and get some schools together and run a school tournament. It'd be great.
Yeah, cool. Not at a bar.
Not at a bar.
Yeah, or maybe do we look at hosting some tournaments at schools, using their auditorium and filling them up with pool tables as opposed to clubs?
We got Pop Black in last year, and they're going to be doing it again this year. So what we did last year was Pop Black came in, they set up 2 tables, they gifted the school as part of sponsorship, 2 tables, and our students challenged the teachers. And the parents,
wow.
It was great. It was an amazing day.
Who won?
The students.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah.
Good.
So the students won. So it was fantastic. It was probably it was good to see. The kids really enjoyed it.
Cool. Well, I think that just about wraps us up. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on?
I do need to go register really quickly.
Oh, Lucas has got a game coming
go.
up. So, yeah, we will cut it off there. That's perfect timing. Well, all the best for the rest of the tournament, mate, and the playoff side of things. All the best to you, Lucas, and your section play. Go smash it, mate. And, thanks for sitting down and having a chat.
Let me know. No.
I am bottom
He
seed.
might be coming straight to you after section play. And I want to win that plate.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Thanks very much.
All good. Thanks, mate.